Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me to come and participate in this conference here today. My name is Munya, as it says on the tin, and I am indeed the Chief Marketing and Customer Officer at CybSafe. We are a human risk management platform, and today I'm going to be talking to you about managing the human aspect of cyber risk. I titled it something a little bit more fun, but we'll keep to that. Science, data, telemetry, a modern day window into the soul, but probably it's better to stick to human cyber risk for this session, actually. I have an economics background. And one of the reasons why I mentioned that in particular is because one of my heroes, one of my most favorite people on earth is not Russell Crowe, actually. It's John Nash. Professor John Nash, some of you may recognize from this particular film, which is from A Beautiful Mind. This is where kind of the story acquaints us with how the Nash equilibrium came to be and how he changed governing dynamics and game theory. And why I bring this up at the beginning of this particular presentation is because what Professor Nash was able to do was he looked at a problem differently compared to everybody else. There was a set way of addressing a particular challenge, and sitting in a pub that evening with his friends, he was able to see a different path of how to solve a particular problem. And I suggest to us today that perhaps there is a different perspective that we can take as far as the human aspect is concerned in order to actually be able to protect our people and our organizations. So we'll come back to Professor Nash later, but I thought I'd introduce him to you now, looking a lot like Russell Crowe. The reason why we need to talk about looking at things differently is because traditionally, the way that society has looked at the human aspect of cyber risk, in fact, as far back as the introduction of computers came in, is that there was this long-held belief that if you train people, if you give people knowledge and understanding, they will, in and of themselves, know when to make the right decisions at the right time in order to protect themselves and the organization. And that led to the emergence of what you guys might imagine is computer-based training. That's the thing that was designed and what many of your organizations and your clients perhaps are doing today. They train their people monthly, quarterly, biannually, etc. Then they leave them to it. They just assume, now that we've given you knowledge and understanding, when you're confronted with a cyber threat, a cyber risk, and a situation, you're going to be able to recall all of that information and in situ make the right decision in order to protect our data, our assets, and our business. But many of us know that's actually not true. Many of us really know that's not true because we know about it in our personal lives. It's not enough to give people knowledge and understanding and expect behavior change because there is no scientific relationship between knowledge and understanding and behavior change. I'll give you a few examples. There are doctors who smoke. Now, they are full of knowledge and understanding about the impacts of smoking on lungs. Absolutely. And yet, you might catch them outside a surgery having a fag. That is because there is no scientific relationship between knowledge and understanding and behavior change. There are people who it took a pandemic in order to get them to wash their hands properly. Now, that's not because there wasn't knowledge and understanding about the efficacy and importance of having clean hands or having good hygiene. But the truth is, knowing that you should wash your hands and maybe socially distance people from time to time was something we all had as knowledge that we had in our repository, but actually the behaviors that we're exhibiting caused us all to get quarantined at home for nearly 2 years because we were not able to stick and actually execute on the knowledge and understanding that we have. The truth is, there is no scientific relationship between knowledge and understanding and behavior change. I know I shouldn't probably drink as much Sauvignon Blanc as I'm going to drink later. I know that because I have a busy day tomorrow. I have good understanding of what a hangover feels like, for sure. But my knowledge and understanding and my behavior change are not always aligned as far as this particular issue is concerned. And you know that for yourselves. And yet, traditionally, as security professionals, we give our teams knowledge and understanding. We push them and push training on them and expect them to know what to do when that situation confronts and encounters them. The other thing that we do as organizations most frequently is that we say we're addressing behavior change. What we really mean in most security programs is that we fish our people from time to time. We send them these phishing simulations, and the combination of training and phishing is what we call our security programs, and we expect that that combination is actually going to mean we have a really, really resilient security posture against the threats that is going on in the world today. The reality is it's not doing as much as we hoped it would, and we need a better design of something that can actually protect us from the human aspect of cyber risk. less than 15% of people that you give knowledge and understanding to go ahead and actually change their behavior. Now, if you imagine how much effort and resource and time goes into training programs on their own. Now, I'm not dissing knowledge and understanding because training is important. People need knowledge and understanding. But if you just stop there, less than 15% of people that have that knowledge and understanding actually know what to do with it. I think, and I put to you, that we need to start thinking more in terms of how we can go beyond just training people and actually help them when they need that help. It gets worse, actually. Over the last few years, we've seen a dramatic change in the way that we relate to work. For most of our organizations, we designed our security programs at a time when people had to go to a physical premises. They had to come here. And our security programs were quite strong for people that were in a building or an office. But the moment people had to work from home, or from an airport, or from a cafe, or from a workspace, all of a sudden, all of the things that we thought were really, really safe and secure were no longer that robust or resilient. And we didn't design our security programs to be able to help those people that are in transit, that are working at home, that are choosing a different kind of relationship with physical presence at a work premise. And if you're going to be safe from the threat that we've been hearing so far today, then your security program needs to be designed to help people wherever they are, not necessarily only the ones that are actually at their desk in a building that you own or maybe that you might rent. Secondly, we're more distracted than ever. These people that are no longer just in the office are also switching between more than 1,000 applications a day as part of how they do their work, from browser to mobile application to window to productivity tool like Slack or Microsoft Teams. These people are so distracted that the potential for somebody to sneak in something that might be dangerous is actually very, very real. But our security programs were designed at a time when we didn't contemplate how busy and how distracted people are. And so we give them training and hope that within the 1,000 applications that they're switching from every single day, they're going to be able to pick the right thing or do the right thing in the moment. And that's simply not practical. We need to help our people, not just give them knowledge and understanding or phishing them from time to time. Thirdly, and this was mentioned before, human error is actually a huge aspect of what causes unauthorized access to data and information in our organizations. Most of the reasons why we have this ransomware, malware infection, etc., isn't because you've got nefarious bad actors in your organizations. It's actually death by 1,000 paper cuts. People are tired, busy, distracted, disgruntled, worried about their job security. And in that context, they make mistakes. So we need security programs that contemplate all of that and actually designed to ensure that people, no matter what state of mind they're in, they're going to be able to make the right choices and have the right kind of security instincts in the moment. I put it to you again. We need to help our people, not just train and fish them from time to time. It gets even worse than that. Of late, we've got this emergence and proliferation of AI. We had a pandemic, work from home, hybrid, distracted people switching from application to application, people that are tired, distressed, whatever the case may be. And then all of a sudden, this powerhouse came into their hands where they could, instead of, maybe doing the job that they always did it, they're now putting all of these prompts into these large language models and getting answers back. Whereas in past times, you were just testing them and litmus testing whether this is a positive or a negative response to a phishing email. The answer they get back from their prompt could actually tell them to do something actually wrong. And we have no idea what they're doing in there. Now, whereas if someone fails a phishing test, you could know that and you could help them, you train them. If somebody says, should we continue to do this into that model, and the model says no, they could take down the whole organization. Should I continue to work down this line or this path? And so we're now in a situation where in the hands of these people who are working remotely, hybrid, or from wherever, who are switching from application to application, who are also tired sometimes, stressed, or whatever the case may be, they're now also receiving instructions from large language models about how to potentially do their job. And they're putting strategy and information into these models, and you have no idea what they're putting in there, or indeed what's coming back to them. That is the landscape within which we are contemplating the human aspect of cyber risk. And I put it to you again, that's really important that we start to wonder and contemplate, how do we go beyond just giving people information about this and help them? So I'm really glad Microsoft are here and as a partner of ITC Secure, because one of the things that we see and that we hear, we run an annual study together with the National Cybersecurity Alliance in the United States, and we were looking at a number of these sort of behaviors that emanate from organizations. And while we are satisfied that training and phishing really works, here's the truth about what people are actually doing from day to day. 35% of people change a single character when you ask them to change a password. That's the reality of what's going on inside your organization. And it gets worse, and I'm not going to read all of these out to you, but what you can see is that while you've been trying to get them to adopt MFA, or you're trying to get them to do SSO and all of these things, they default to the easy thing in order to carry on doing their job. And that's because they've been trained to, just change something and jog on with your job, because they're actually not security professionals. They're just trying to get on with their work. We've got loads of rich data and insight. This is the latest O Behave report, and you can access this from our team. They're over there in the corner. But it tells you essentially what I was trying to explain, which is the fact that these people who change only a single character in a password have a lot of knowledge and understanding, but their behavior hasn't really improved that much. We've been working really hard to be able to actually say, okay, if we go beyond training and phishing our people, how can we leverage the telemetry from your entire environment to be able to learn more about a variety, a wide range of behaviors that are playing out in your organization? Things like, have you changed the default password on your router at home? Have you actually implemented MFA? Are you using strong passwords? Are you sharing information such as social security numbers or credit card numbers in a productivity tool like Slack? All of this data is actually available inside your environment, and we're able to fetch that through integrations and actually visualize it to you and show you how that relates to risk outcomes. And in order to be able to do that, we started as a research project and we built CybDB. CybDB is the world's most comprehensive security behavior database. And with CybDB, we've cataloged over 100 security behaviors, not just training, not just phishing, but actually things like what I just mentioned. Some of them are on the screen right now. Sharing confidential information, sharing a file containing personal identifiable information. And we've cataloged those and we've mapped them to risk outcomes, but we're fetching all of that telemetry from different aspects of your environment. If you're Microsoft House, for example, we're able to connect with if you have an E5 or an E3 license, we're able to then harvest the data that comes from that to be able to give you insights and telemetry that allows you to be able to relate those behaviors to actually risk outcomes. So we argue very strongly that there are more behaviors than phishing, for example, and we think security behaviors are fundamentally the core of how you can build a stronger security strategy for your organization, alongside knowledge and understanding. But we also believe that there are more than these two as human risk factors. There are things like confidence. How confident is your workforce? How can you actually measure that? How engaged are they with the security program? What's their level of exposure? Do they have data that can be found on publicly available lists that have been published by threat actors? All of these things combine together to give you what we call a more holistic picture of what might be happening as far as the human aspect of cyber risk is in your organization. And so we think about it this way. We think the modern, more defendable cybersecurity strategy as far as human risk is concerned is one that gives you visibility by leveraging telemetry from your environment, that gives you the ability to be able to intervene, not just train, but give people micro-learning opportunities, personalized training moments, give them personalized guidance. Okay, you just sent somebody a credit card number in Slack. That is not allowed, first of all. But secondly, here's a micro-learning opportunity, 2-3 minutes of why that is not allowed and what risk that introduces to the organization. No longer a cookie-cutter approach where you train everybody on everything, but you're giving people the help they need when they need it. And you can nudge or intervene via a browser, via Slack, via WhatsApp, via a text, and help people make the right decisions at the right time. It is the equivalent of having a satellite navigation system as you go through your workday, as opposed to having to memorize the knowledge of London and know all of the streets. Now, when you're supposed to turn left, we will nudge you through CybSafe to be able to turn left, take the third exit, and get to the safe destination that your organization wants you to get to. It's no longer necessary to have guesswork around this. You can have a guide alongside you as you do your work, and we believe that automation is what that is. And ultimately, all of us have to achieve a level of compliance. But the combination of visibility, interventions, automation, and compliance will actually build you a more robust technological kind of defense system that actually addresses the human aspect of cyber risk, and we do that really, really well at CybSafe. We believe in workflows and automations, but I won't dwell on that for too long because that might waste a bit of our time. The thing that I really wanted to dwell on more importantly is we are able to take the visibility we have into security behaviors and for the first time comprehensively map it to risk outcomes. We take those security behaviors out of CybDB and we can tell you the likelihood and impact of malware infection in your organization, the likelihood and impact of data theft, data loss, the likelihood and impact of identity theft. And we actually be able to say, okay, now as we design or we invest in our risk programs, our security programs, where should we be focused as an organization? Because we've taken all this telemetry from our environment and we're actually going to focus where it matters rather than give everybody a cookie cutter approach and actually stop there. We publish this in dashboards that you can obviously scrutinize and study in a good way. The three things that we do from a product perspective is that Guide is the tool that allows you to be that personal navigation system that you can give your workforce to help them make better decisions in real time via nudges and prompts. Fish aligns with the NIST fish scale. It actually, as opposed to just fishing everybody with the same template from time to time, what Fish does is that it actually gives you susceptibility insights into why people were tempted into phishing that phishing email. Is it authority bias? Is it fear? Is it romance? Why are people so easily baited into clicking this kind of thing? And then we actually, using the Fish scale from NIST, make them harder depending on who you are, so that we can actually be able to increase the resilience that we have as an organization as far as phishing is concerned. And of course, Respond. Respond is about intervention, visibility, intervention, and automation. We want to take all the work away. We want to stop forcing people to go and sit in a room or buy a computer on a quarterly basis. We want to train you, give you information in the moment that's really helpful for what you're going through right now, and help you to actually achieve good outcomes for your organization. Guide, Fish, Respond. And we do this for all kinds of organizations globally who trust us with the ability to be able to help their customers not just remember a whole bunch of stuff from training, but actually make the right decisions at the right time in the moment, be more resilient, be more confident, be more engaged with the security program, and actually have good security outcomes as far as risk is concerned. Now, I was waiting to come back to Professor Nash because I really like the movie, and if you haven't watched it, then you should definitely go and invest in that. If you remember this scene, or if you haven't watched the movie, I encourage you to go and watch the movie. The goal is very simple in this scene in the movie. There are 5 lads, and there are 4 lads, and there are 5 ladies. It's obvious that everyone might go for the one lady in the room, but Professor Nash is doing a bit of a calculation, and he comes up with this idea that if we all go for the blonde, which is what happens in the movie, what's going to happen is we're going to piss off all of the others, and actually most of us are going to go home alone. So the best thing for us to do as a strategy is to self-optimize what's good for us and good for the group. So let's all ignore the lady in the middle and go our separate ways and actually optimize our strategy for a very, very different outcome that optimizes for everybody. This is what Sir Graham was saying. We need to build programs that protect us and our environment. We need to be better digital citizens as individuals and as entities in society. And only then can we actually challenge the governing dynamics of today that say me for myself, me for my organization, and me alone. That's at a geopolitical level, that's at a national level, and that's even in our organizations. This changed game theory, and I believe that it can change security as well. We need to protect ourselves, but also be conscious of who else we're protecting in the organization and even in the country, because sometimes the organizations that you work for are protecting critical national infrastructure. And by protecting yourselves, you're protecting those organizations, protecting the nation, and indeed perhaps protecting a large part of the world. Governing dynamics, the Nash equilibrium, game theory, and a beautiful mind. So what's our vision at CybSafe? We really, really, really hope that by implementing these types of ideas and strategies, that people like you and myself can use technology without fear. That's literally it. We don't want people to be scared of technology. We want people to embrace technology, to have help, not just knowledge, whenever they need it. I'll finish with this. In order to be able to drive a black cab, I said, in 1865, you had to have the knowledge of London. And later when they designed the sat-nav, you were able to be nudged in a good way. But the nudge efficacy is so powerful that a case study was found in Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam by Professor Richard Thaler. He won a Nobel Prize for this. They went in the gentlemen's toilets in the urinals of Schiphol Airport, and they put a photorealistic fly in the well of the urinal. The reason why they did this was because they had such a problem with hygiene and spillage inside this airport that they decided that they were going to give people something to aim at. So they gave them a photorealistic fly in the well of the toilet. Putting that fly in that well reduced spillage by 80% and reduced the cost of cleaning by 15%. Now, what's my point? Before that, people went in and made a mess. And they would have made a mess had that fly not been there. But putting a nudge or a prompt in front of them actually caused them to change their behavior. We specialize in putting nudges and prompts in front of your people so they spill less. Or in this case, make less mistakes. Thank you very much.